Welcome to week 9 of Impact Online. We're excited for this week. We have Joel doing our memory verse. We have another chorus for you, and then Mark is doing our Bible story today. And we're learning about another young person in the Bible who was able to do amazing things for God and who was so courageous. So enjoy all that there is on this video today. Enjoy doing your activity packs, keep sending in your pictures, and I'll see you there.
Okay, so the memory verse for this week is found in the book of Joshua, the 6th book of the Bible, chapter 1 and verse 9. And it reads like this: Have I not commanded you, be strong and of good courage, do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So please remember to send in your recordings, because there's a prize for the winner who does the best memory verse.
God's not dead. No! He is alive. God's not dead. No! He is alive. God's not dead. No! He is alive. Serve with my hands, follow with my feet, love him in my heart, know him in my life. For he is alive in me. Praise the Lord. God's not dead. No! He is alive. God's not dead. No! He is alive. God's not dead. No! He is alive. Serve him with my hands, follow with my feet, love him in my heart, know him in my life. For he is alive in me. Praise the Lord.
Our Bible lesson today is about another young person from the Bible. Last week we learnt about Samuel, and that when he was a child he listened to God's call and obeyed what God had to say to him. Well, Samuel appears in the story today, but not as a child, but as an adult. You see, Samuel continued to listen to God and obey him even when he was an old man. Well, one day God told Samuel that he was to go and find a new king for the whole nation of Israel. He told him where to go and who to pick as the new king. The boy that he found was a young lad called David. Now you see, David, he was a shepherd. He looked after his father's sheep. And David loved God. He used to take an instrument with him out to the fields that he would use to help him sing praise to God when he was looking after the sheep outside there. But it wasn't all just sitting about playing his lyre all day. David also had to protect the sheep. Back then in Israel there were still wild animals that would roam about, and they quite often fancied maybe some lamb or sheep for their dinner. And it was David's job to make sure they didn't kill his sheep. To protect himself and the sheep, David had with him what we call a sling. A sling was made of leather and would fire out a wee stone. With enough practice, David was able to aim his sling and even hit small objects from far away. David would use this sling to fire stones, lions or bears that would try and get close to the sheep that it was his job to protect. Now, David, he had 7 older brothers. And there was one time that they'd all gone away to fight in the army against the Philistines that were attacking the country of Israel. David's father sent them down to the army one day to bring his brothers some food from the farm. It was when David was there he saw the Philistine army across the valley, and he heard a shout from the Philistine camp. It was someone from the Philistine army, a man called Goliath. He was a giant, over 9 foot tall. Now Goliath, he was shouting over and he was cursing God, and he was offering to fight anyone from the Israelite army that thought that they could beat him. However, everyone in the army was terrified. David's 7 older brothers, even the king of Israel, was too scared to go and fight Goliath. Now, when David heard Goliath insulting the Israelite army and cursing God, he knew something had to be done. So he went to the king and he offered to go and fight the giant Goliath. Well, they laughed at David because he was only a boy. He'd never been to war before. But David had something all the army of Israel and the king of Israel did not have at that time. He had faith in God. He trusted in God in the past, and he knew that God would be faithful again. David said to them, "The Lord that delivered me from the lion and the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Well, they let David go down to fight the giant, and as he climbed down that valley, he began to approach the giant Goliath. Goliath laughed down at David because he was just a small boy, and he began to run at him to kill him. But do you remember how David used to protect his sheep in the pastures? He took out his sling, he placed a little stone in it, and he swung it around his head until he had it lined up just right, and he let go, and the stone flew through the air, perfectly aimed, until it hit Goliath in the head, and he fell to the ground dead. All the people in the Israelite army rejoiced, and they chased the Philistines right out their country, and some years later David was made king of the whole nation. So, what do we learn from this story of David? Well, David was obedient to God. He obeyed his father when he went down to the camp of the Israelite army where he saw the giant Goliath. David trusted God, even when everyone else laughed at him because he was young and because he believed God would be with him. He stood strong and he ignored them all. He was brave enough to approach that giant because he knew that God had protected him in the past and would protect him in the future. This story of David should be an encouragement to everyone that hears it. We can have faith like David if we have trusted in God to protect us. It says in the Bible that God will never leave us nor forsake us, and that is what we believe here at Impact Club. Well, thank you for your attention and listening. We'll just pass it back over to Abby.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this week of Impact Online and hearing about David and all that he did for God. Go now and get into your activity packs, and we will see you next week. Bye!